in the heart of South Devon, where the River Dart winds through ancient woodlands and the emerald hills roll toward the horizon, stands Dartington Hall, a medieval estate steeped in history and mystery. Its great hall, with its towering hammerbeam roof, has borne witness to centuries of revelry and reflection. But it is in the drawing room, a quieter space adorned with faded tapestries and heavy oak, where a haunting melody lingers. Here, in the depths of night, exquisite piano music has been heard drifting through the walls, even when the room stands dark and locked from the outside. Its unseen pianist playing a refrain that speaks of longing, loss, and the unbreakable tether of the past. The tale begins in the late 19th century, during the twilight of the Champernowne family's long stewardship of Dartington Hall. The estate, though grand, had fallen into genteel decay by the 1880s, its halls echoing with the whispers of better days. Among the last of the Champernownes to dwell there was Lady Beatrice, a woman of delicate beauty and fiery spirit, whose love for music rivaled her love for the rolling lands of Dartington. At the age of 22, in 1885, Beatrice had received a grand piano as a wedding gifter, magnificent instrument of polished ebony, its keys ivory smooth, its tone as pure as the Dart's clear waters. She played it daily in the drawing room, her fingers coaxing sonatas and nocturnes that filled the hall with light. Even as her marriage to Sir Reginald Champernowne, a dour man twice her age, grew cold and distant. Beatrice's joy in music was her solace, but it was not to last. In the winter of 1887, a fever swept through South Devon, claiming lives with indiscriminate cruelty. Beatrice fell ill just before Christmas, her strength fading as quickly as the melodies she loved. She died on New Year's Eve, her final breath slipping away as the clock struck midnight, her fingers resting on the piano keys where she'd played a final, faltering chopin nocturne. Sir Reginald, grief-stricken or perhaps guilt-ridden, ordered the drawing room sealed after her funeral, the piano untouched, its lid closed like a coffin. The estate passed into other hands in the years that followed, and in 1925, Leonard and Dorothy Elmhurst purchased Dartington, breathing new life into its halls with their vision of art and education. But Beatrice's spirit, it seemed, could not be so easily displaced. The first whispers of the piano's haunting melody emerged in the early 1930s, shortly after the Elmhursts opened the drawing room for and recitals. On a moonless night in 1932, a groundskeeper named Thomas Yeo, locking up the hall after a late event, heard the faint strains of a piano drifting from the drawing room. The notes were exquisite, delicate yet piercing, a Chopin prelude he recognized from his daughter's lessons. But the room was dark, its heavy door locked from the outside, the key still in his pocket. Thomas pressed his ear to the wood, the music swelling and fading like a sigh until it ceased with a final, lingering chord. He unlocked the door, his lantern trembling, but found the room empty, the piano lid closed, the air thick with the scent of lavender and dust. Thomas spoke of it only to his wife, fearing ridicule, but the tale slipped into Dartington's lore, a curiosity that drew the brave and the curious in the years that followed. In 1948, a young music student named Clara Harrowell, studying at Dartington's newly established art school, encountered the phenomenon firsthand. She'd stayed late in the Great Hall, practicing for a recital. When the clock struck midnight and a faint melody reached her ears, a haunting rendition of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, its first movement rippling like water in the dark. Clara followed the sound to the drawing room, her footsteps echoing in the silent corridors, but the door was locked, the windows shuttered, the room cloaked in shadow. The music played on, its beauty tinged with an aching sorrow, as if the pianist wept through their fingers. Clara, bolder than most, returned the next night with a friend, a caretaker's key in hand, and waited outside the room. At midnight, the music began, again Schubert this time, a melancholic impromptu that seemed to plead for something lost. They unlocked the door mid-piece, but the notes stopped abruptly. The room empty save for the scent of lavender and a chill that lingered on the piano's bench. Over the decades, the ghostly music of Dartington Hall became a whispered legend, heard by staff, students, and guests alike. In 1975, a visiting professor of musicology, Dr. Edward Taverner, recorded what he could on a primitive tape deck, capturing faint strains of a Liszt before the sound cut off, as if the pianist sensed his intrusion. The recordings, though grainy, were analyzed by skeptics and believers. Alaxum claimed they heard static. Others swore to a melody so exquisite it could only come from beyond the grave. Dr. Taverner's notes described the music as a lament woven from starlight and sorrow, and he theorized it was Lady Beatrice herself, her spirit bound to the piano where she'd poured her heart in life, unable to let go of the melodies that had been her refuge. The most poignant sighting came in 1992, during a winter storm that battered South Devon with howling winds and sleet. The hall's caretaker, a stout woman named Elsie Drayton, was securing the estate after a power outage when the piano music began a Bach prelude, its notes steady and mournful despite the chaos outside. Elsie, who'd heard the stories but never the music, crept to the drawing room, flashlight in hand. The door was locked, as always, but through a crack in the shutters, she glimpsed a faint glow within a woman in a pale gown seated at the piano, her hands moving over the keys, her face obscured by a veil of shadow. The music swelled, a crescendo of grief that seemed to shake the very walls, and Elsie felt tears prick her eyes, an inexplicable sorrow washing over her. Then the glow faded, the music ceased, and the room plunged back into darkness. Elsie never saw her again, but the memory lingered like the final note of a requiem. Today, Dartington Hall thrives as a center for arts and culture. Its drawing room, a space of light and laughter during the day, its piano tuned for recitals by living hands. But at night, when the estate sleeps and the moon casts silver through the leaded windows, some still hear the exquisite musica, ghostly echo of Lady Beatrice Champernowne, playing her heart into eternity. The door remains locked after hours, a precaution born of respect as much as fear, and those who listen closely swear they catch the faint scent of lavender on the air. A reminder that in Dartington, the past never truly fades, it sings through the darkness, note by note, until the last chord falls silent. Many thanks for treading this tale's dark path. If its chill gripped you, follow, subscribe, and comment below.